And on the part one to this what if, oh, absolutely killed it. Like 200 views in on under a day, and like what, like 21 likes in under a day. Yeah, oh, yeah. I'm a, I'm gonna do a part three. I don't, this video doesn't need a like. I'm gonna do a part three, like at least like tomorrow or like an hour after this drops. But anyways, this seems like a big jump, but I'm trying to get 60 subs off this video, and I know y'all could do it. But anyways, don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, like, what if suggestions, and let's get on with the what if. Let's continue from where we left off in the last video. Bakugo and Deku are fighting outside of their middle school, in the air using their two respective quirks. Deku then, okay, Deku thinks to himself, I can't risk losing this battle. I have to I have to pull out all the stops. Then Deku says, if I can bend metal, I bet you I can bend earth too. He tries to bring some rocks from out of the ground, from the ground beneath him, and then it moves. Deku's theory was correct. Deku said, so I just don't so I don't have the power of water. I have the power of wind, lightning, earth, and metal. That's pretty cool. And DNA manipulation. As that's what he called it. Because he didn't know the actual name, Ether. That's what he called it because he basically copied the DNA of Shota Todoroki and made her quirk his own. Deku and Bakugo start to fight again. Deku wins with one single punch from all the elements that he thinks he can bend so far. Earth, wind, water. Let's see, earth, wind, water, lightning, and metal, and fire and ice. um. Okay, let's skip forward about a day. Deku thinks to himself, I should probably go see Bakugo in the hospital. He was pretty banged up after our battle. Then Deku says bye to his mom. He says, I'm gonna go visit Bakugo. And then she says, okay. And then Deku creates a tornado. He jumps in it, and then he flies off. When Deku is flying in midair to get to the hospital, as everyone else would see it, but he knows that he's using his wind quirk. He sees a girl, and then he says, "Hey, I know you don't know each other, but I thought you looked pretty cute." And then Momo Yaoyorozu says, okay." And then Deku says, "What's your name?" And then Momo says, "Momo Yaoyorozu." And then Deku says, okay." Momo then thinks to herself, what if some random kid just stopping me in the middle of the street and he doesn't even know me? Like, so weird. Deku then says, well, I gotta run. And then he blasts off with a fire quirk. And then he draws the moisture out of the air, and he combines his wind and water quirk to make ice. Momo then thinks to herself, the only people that I know with a ice on fire quirk are Shota Todoroki and her mom and her dad. Well, Endeavor has fire quirk, and her mom, yeah, her mom has the ice quirk. And then she thinks to herself, could that be the boy that's in the quirk marriage with Shota Todoroki? And then she just brushes it off. And then right before Deku is finna get behind the building, she says, "Are you going to UA?" And then Deku says, "Yeah, I actually am. I got in off a recommendation." And then Momo says, "That's great. I did too." And then Deku says, "Well, I'm gonna do the written test just so I can test what's on there, what UA has to offer." And then Momo says, "Well, okay, you like a challenge, I guess." And then Deku says, "Yeah, I do." And then Momo says, "Well, great." And then Deku says, "Well, I gotta run. I gotta go check on a friend real quick." Deku then stops using his quirk, and then he takes a shortcut to the hospital under a bridge. Green sludge collects from the sewer drains, and then a voice behind him says, "Your body would make a nice fit." Deku instantly conjures fire into his hand, and then shoots it behind him, where he thinks the sludge villain is. The sludge villain is burning, and then Deku runs as quick as he can to collect bottles and other containers to contain this villain because he knows that's the only way to contain him. And then All Might jumps down. He says, "I am he." He stops mid sentence. He says, "You've already collected the villain, I see. Well, you must have a really great quirk." And then All Might says, "Is that Izuku Midoriya? The one that's in the quirk marriage with Shota Todoroki?" And then Deku says, All Might, I'm a really big fan of yours. Could you sign my notebook?" All Might then signs Deku's notebook with all of his like notes from like superpowers, not superpowers, special moves that all the top heroes use. And then All Might says, "Can I look through your book real quick?" And then All Might, not All Might. Then Deku says, "Sure." And then All Might flips through his book. He sees that he's taking notes on him, Mountain Lady, what's his name? Um, Kamui Woods. Let's see who else. Gran Torino, and yeah, that's about it. All Might then wonders to himself, what did he get notes off of Gran Torino? And then he thinks, oh yeah, the internet. And then All Might hands the book back to him. He says, "You must be a really big nerd, kid, but I admire that. It's great that you want to learn about all of our special moves." Deku then says, "Well, thank you, but I have to go see a friend." And then All Might says, "Were you the one that was fighting outside of that one middle school?" And then Deku says, "Yeah, I was." And then All Might says, "Remember, don't use a quirk in public. It gets you arrested or worse." And then Deku says, "I understand." And then he starts to run off. The sludge villain, while All Might's not looking, the sludge villain starts to crawl out of the bottles. And then he gets away. All Might then notices it, and he says, "Texas Smash." And then he hits the sludge villain and makes him disperse into pieces. He then collects it. He then collects all of the sludge pieces, and then he goes to the nearest police station and turn them or whatever, turn them in. In this timeline, Deku will still get a one for all, but by different means. Deku, as soon as Deku gets to the hospital, a man named All for One jumps in front of him. He says, "Well, it looks like my son has gotten a lot more powerful since the last time I've seen him." How long ago was that? 11 years ago? And then Deku says, "Who are you?" "Son, what do you mean? I'm not your son." My dad's name is Hisashi Midoriya, and then all for one then changes shape. Then he starts to resemble Deku's father. Deku watches in horror and awe as the man that he's known all his life is a supervillain. Is as he knows now is a supervillain. Deku then thinks to himself, "I gotta get out of here. I gotta go tell All Might about this." Then All for One says, "Oh no, you don't." All for One then catches him by the leg, and then Deku unknowingly uses Ether to take one of All for One's speed quirks away from him. Then he dashes off, and then he gets to All Might, which is at the nearest police station. He says, "Someone named All for One has escaped from prison." And then All Might then thinks to himself, "What in the world? How did All for One escape from prison?" And then Deku uses his ether quirk to create a mind reading quirk for himself. He then reads All Might's mind, and then he says, "You're gonna need to. I'm gonna need one for all for a second." He then plucks All Might's hair and eats it. Even though All for One is given through like will, All Might was thinking in that split second that he could maybe give the quirk to Midoriya. In that split second of his will, he was Deku was allowed to be transferred the quirk. Was allowed to be transferred the quirk. And then he rushes down to where All for One is. He then throws a Texas Smash at him, and he breaks his arm. Deku had used 100% of One for All. He had smashed a hole right through All for One. All for One then jumps away and retreats. Then Deku uses a speed quirk to catch up with him. A voice in his head then says, "Go get him." It was a female voice. And then when Deku started to jump off, he felt all of his weight go from him. He felt as if he was floating. And then Deku says, "Why am I floating?" And then the female voice in his head says, "I'm Nana Shimura. I'm one of the past users of One for All. I'm giving you my quirk, or, well, it's forcibly been given to you by the power of One for All." And then the voice goes away, and then Deku says, "This is a crazy day." And then Deku flies off to go see what All for One go see where All for One is going. And then he thinks to himself, "This villain needs to be stopped right now. If this quirk was just created to stop him, then he could be really, really powerful. Hey, he might want to take over the world. I can't let that happen." That's the end of the What If by Star Records.